Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Monday, December 7, 2020. Al Jazeera report. PM Orban quits but Romania still on track for center-right gov't. Romania's center-right prime minister has resigned after a general election in which voters delivered nominal victory to the left-leaning opposition party. With 95% of votes counted in Sunday's election, Ludovic Orban's National Liberal Party (PNL) came in second on 25%, compared to 30% for the Social Democratic Party (PSD). The progressive USR Plus alliance, which has pledged not to be part of any PSD-led government, won about 15% of the vote.
Fox report. Small Oregon town reels after city council rep dies fighting off burglar. A small Oregon town was in shock after a long-serving member of the city council was killed over the weekend trying to stop a burglary. The death of Mark Campbell, 66, occurred around 3:30 a.m. Sunday in Waldport, a small coastal town with a population of 2,000 residents. Authorities said he died fighting off a burglar who had broken into a vacant apartment near his home, Yahats News reported. Campbell heard a noise and went to investigate.
Al Jazeera report. Sao Paulo sets first date in Latin America to start vaccinations. Brazil's most populous and affluent state will start vaccinating its 46 million residents on Jan. 25, in the first concrete announcement of its kind in Latin America. Shots of the Chinese-developed CoronaVac will first be given to healthcare professionals, people over 60 years old and the indigenous population, Governor João Doria said at a press conference on Monday. The priority groups, which make up about 9 million people, will start getting the shots on Jan.
Deutsche Welle report. Ghana votes in tight election, as veteran rivals square off. Voters across Ghana headed for the polls Monday in presidential and legislative elections, with the incumbent President Nana Akufo-Addo and opponent John Mahama offering competing plans to rescue the pandemic-hit economy. The polls closed at 5 p.m., and there were no reports of disruptions. The Electoral Commission is expected to announce the outcome within 72 hours. Up to 17 million Ghanaians were registered to cast ballots at 38,000 polling stations across the country.
Deutsche Welle report. Brexit. Boris Johnson expected to travel to Brussels. A joint statement from UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said on Monday that the conditions for a deal were not yet in place. We agreed that the conditions for finalizing an agreement are not there due to the remaining significant differences on three critical issues: level playing field, governance and fisheries, the statement said. We asked our chief negotiators and their teams to prepare an overview of the remaining differences to be discussed in a physical meeting in Brussels in the coming days.
BBC report. COVID. Fauci warns Christmas is greater challenge than Thanksgiving. He said the longer Christmas-New Year period may be even more of a challenge. The U.S. is seeing peak infections of close to 200,000 a day on average with record numbers of people in hospital. California is under a strict new lockdown, with other states announcing record increases. President Donald Trump has been accused of playing down measures such as mask wearing, but the U.S. has also had to deal with different states taking different approaches to tackling the virus.
Al Jazeera report. After 3 vote counts, Georgia certifies results again. President-elect Joe Biden was officially certified as the winner of this year's presidential election in Georgia. Again, the state's top election official announced on Monday. We have now counted legally casted ballots 3 times and the results have remained unchanged, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a Republican, said. Also Monday, former Trump lawyer Sidney Powell's lawsuit, described as the Kraken, was dismissed by a U.S. District Court judge.
CNN report. 4 more states just legalized recreational weed. Here's how long you'll have to wait to buy it. In a matter of hours on election night, recreational cannabis measures got the go-ahead in 4 more states: Arizona, Montana, New Jersey and South Dakota. That doesn't mean that people in those locations can legally buy weed for non-medical use just yet. Although the moves at the ballot box further bolster the $19 billion U.S. cannabis industry, the passages are early steps in an often complex and lengthy process.
CNN report. Investors can now trade water futures. There's a new commodity in town for investors to trade: water futures tied to the Nasdaq Velez California Water Index, which measures the volume-weighted average price of water, began trading under the ticker NQH20 on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange on Monday. Water has never been traded this way before. Before the futures came along, the buying and selling of water rights, which allow the holder to pump water from the ground or reservoirs, only happened in the spot market.
CNN report: Venezuelans are being asked to vote twice in a week in two conflicting polls. This week, Venezuelans are being asked to go to the polls not once but twice, in two bizarrely conflicting electoral events. On Monday, December 7, the government of embattled President Nicolas Maduro celebrated victory in parliamentary elections, largely rejected on the international stage. Now, the opposition is holding a competing referendum to gather support and reject the outcome of the weekend's vote.
Fox report. New report attributes strange attacks on U.S. diplomats to microwave radiation. Victim demands investigation. For more than 4 years, dozens of American diplomats and intelligence personnel stationed in Cuba, Russia, China, and even on U.S. soil have reported a range of odd ailments, from fatigue and headaches to impaired hearing, dizziness and memory loss, with no known origin or cause. But according to a government commission report released by the National Academies of Sciences over the weekend, the illness, dubbed Havana syndrome, is most likely the result of direct microwave radiation.
Fox report: Pope to visit Iraq in March, first foreign trip since coronavirus pandemic began. Vatican City: Pope Francis will make a pilgrimage to Iraq in March, pandemic conditions permitting, the Vatican said Monday, in announcing what would be the pontiff's first trip abroad in more than a year. Vatican spokesman Matteo Bruni said Francis will make the March 5–8 visit, with stops in Baghdad, and the Plains of linked to the memory of Abraham, the biblical patriarch who is revered by Jews, Christians and Muslims, as well as to the cities of Erbil, Mosul and Qaraqosh.
BBC report. Hong Kong. Secession arrests after Chinese university protest. 3 were detained on suspicion of inciting secession, which can carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. In recent weeks, activists have been jailed or detained under the new law, legislation human rights groups say amounts to repression. The U.S. on Monday sanctioned 14 more Chinese officials over the clampdown. The Treasury Department froze the assets and restricted the travel of 14 vice chairs of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, which passed the national security law for Hong Kong.
Fox report. Federal Bureau of Prisons defends Ghislaine Maxwell's jail conditions. The Federal Bureau of Prisons defended Ghislaine Maxwell's jail conditions on Monday, noting that she gets 3 meals a day and is in good health, at a healthy weight of 134 pounds. Attorneys for the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn filed a letter saying the British socialite is being treated like any other inmate, following repeated complaints from Maxwell's defense team about what they have called the onerous terms of her confinement.
BBC report. Ikea scraps traditional catalog after 70 years. The company said fewer people were reading the printed catalog as customers moved to digital alternatives to shop and look for inspirations. The publication reached a peak in 2016 when around 200 million copies were distributed in more than 50 markets. The last edition to be printed is the 2021 version with 40 million copies. The catalog's first edition was put together by IKEA founder Ingvar Kamprad himself in 1951.
Deutsche Welle report. Universal Music Group buys Bob Dylan's musical back catalog. Among the most influential voices in modern music since the early 1960s, Bob Dylan's entire catalog of songs, among the most valuable next to the Beatles or Rolling Stones, is being acquired by Universal Music Publishing Group. Though financial terms were not disclosed, the deal covers over 600 song copyrights including Blowin' in the Wind, The Times They Are a-Chungin', Knockin' on Heaven's Door, Tangled Up in Blue, and Things Have Changed, for which he won an Oscar.
CNN report. How Biden should confront China. Michael Hearson is the head of China and Northeast Asia at Eurasia Group. Paul Triolo is the head of Global Technology Policy at Eurasia Group. The opinions expressed in this commentary are their own. Here are some things the new administration and Congress should keep in mind. Play the long game. The Trump administration correctly recognized that aspects of previous U.S. policy toward China have been ineffective, in particular, the frequent reluctance to confront Beijing on problematic trade and foreign policies.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. Recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.